Hey guys, it's Dorr and Coch. In today's video, we're going to be going over our cold weather gear loadouts, which was known as PCU for some reason.
What does PCU stand for?
It's a protective combat uniform, but it's not going to protect you from any of the combat related stuff. It's just to keep you warm. So,
we just call it cold weather gear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to get into it. Maybe even learn something along the way, because to us, this was just warm clothes. But stick around and we'll get into it. Hey guys, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, and that is Vetter Holsters. They are made in the USA. They're a good holster at a good price. We use them on the channel when making content as well as in our classes. So check them out in the description below. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so PCU, Protective Combat Uniform. None of this stuff is actually going to protect you from the combat part of wearing the uniform. This stuff is just warmies, and that's how we referred to them. Things didn't have titles, so oftentimes you would just refer to them to what level it was. It's a 9-level system, and by 9, I mean 8-level system. More on that later. But, you know, it's government, man. It was a lot of stuff. We've got a few different generations here we're going to go through. But, you know...
First, let's talk about where we came from.
Yeah, where we came from.
You know, my time, you know, you had a poncho and a poncho liner. That was basically your cold weather gear initially. And then they started coming out with Gore-Tex. You get old Gore-Tex, and the ear insulator was basically a leftover field jacket liner. I cut the sleeves off because you don't want too much bulk on your arms. But yeah, that's Vietnam, stuff. But it worked.
Yeah, it works great.
But it wasn't as cool. Wasn't quite as versatile as what we have now. And of course, it came in this one here. I mean, this one was actually made by North Face. When I was at Team 6, we actually had these made with a subdued logo. North Face didn't want to do that, but I guess we talked them into it.
I think, yeah, they do it now pretty regularly.
At the time, though, everything was in white. I had to fight for it.
But yeah, just being able to outsource in the private sector to get whatever you needed, because obviously it became very apparent very quickly in September of 2001 that we were going to be going to a cold place to do some business. But yeah, it was pretty cool that they were able to just go right out into the private sector at a moment's notice and get right into it. I also noticed, like, older guys when I was coming in, they seemed to have the Cabela's catalog on like their desktop of their low side non-encrypted computers. And guys would have just like any kind of camo pattern, any kind of warmie you could possibly think of. It was all mixed matched, very small orders. So a little before my time, they decided across the US SOCOM soft force to uniform and give everybody the same stuff, which brings us to the PCU, Protective Combat Uniform. And initially it was a 7-layer system for quite a while. And the first, few layers, that's just kind of your undergarments. So it would start off with moisture wicking t-shirts, tri-shorts, drawers, whatever you want to call them, as well as socks. And that would just be to keep the sweat, getting it off your body and letting it dry out. And we were taught techniques on how to warm ourselves up, dry off our stuff. You take your socks off if they were wet, put them over your shoulders underneath the shirt, let your body heat dry them out. And the big idea was, you're going to sweat. Even in the super cold weather, if you've been sledding, inner tubing, skiing, snowboarding, anything like that, building a freaking fort out there, working, it doesn't matter. That microclimate that you're achieving with your cold weather gear that makes you warm, I like the
microclimate.
Yeah, that microclimate. It's all about achieving that microclimate to keep you warm. But, physical exertion is going to heat things up and cause you to sweat. And then once you sweat, you're wet, and that can kill you. And in previous wars, that actually did kill a massive amount of people. So, just in time for going to war in a ski resort, they started coming out with this stuff. So this is a level 1 top. It's just pretty much standard shirt you'd work out in, I think. You think there's anything special about this?
No, it's polyester basically with a little bit of Lycra stretch.
Yeah.
Does it matter what it's made out of?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is definitely flammable. This was not designed for.
Yeah, it's one big drawback is it is flammable.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I think the newer stuff has got.
But this stuff, this was made by, and it was made by a couple different companies. Patagonia was the main company, but I think that Polar Tech is somebody that they kind of farmed out to help with.
Yeah.
I don't know the full politics or whatever behind it.
Hardware and North Face and just you name it, if it was quality gear, you go out and buy your own. But when they started standardizing, of course, you got to go to the same company pretty much for everything.
Yeah. And the original versions had like a Blackbeard pirate flag logo. I don't know why they settled on that. But the old stuff, the OG stuff, you can find it all has that kind of, the Blackbeard logo became like the operator cool guy thing. I was actually at Blackbeard, the FOB Blackbeard in North Iraq. And I thought that's what it was. That's why guys had all that stuff.
You're like, wow, that's pretty cool.
You guys are rocking, because I went up there. This was a number of years ago, but then not long after we left there, I noticed like everybody's just wearing Blackbeard. So I don't know. He must have been a tacky cool guy because everybody's wearing it. But anyway, that's something to look out for if you're a collector. You want the OG original stuff. And so this is again just kind of the level 1 base layer. There's level like 1, 2, 3 is all just kind of this waffle layer stuff. And again, it's designed to be breathable. It's designed to cool you off when you overheat, but keep you warm when you're cold. That was kind of the idea behind it, best of both worlds. So this is a waffle top. Everything came in tops and bottoms, but it's all the same. This would be another top. And they said these are actually the same one. I said two of these.
Layer, yeah, and this one's a bit thicker.
Yeah, this one's a little bit thicker, more of a jacket, something you'd wear while you're reading in your study, next to the fire on a cold night.
Yeah, it's the old smoking jacket.
Yeah, it's the old smoking jacket. So don't get any sparks on it because it'll probably light on fire, like I said. So these are kind of your, your level 1s, 2s, socks, tri-shorts, t-shirts, and then you started to get and this stuff, guys, is basically what you'd wear skiing. There were two different weights, I guess you could call it. Mm-hmm. There's a lighter one and a thicker one. And then you started getting into, and again, we called these the waffle layers because they had this kind of waffle pattern. And again, that's for moisture wicking, breathability. But when you're cold, it does retain and give you that
it traps that air
microclimate that you're looking for. And that's all you're trying to achieve with clothing is microclimate.
Internal microclimate.
Yeah, internal microclimate. These are just kind of military standard. This was not part of the PCU. I just kind of got these in both tan and black. I believe I got these probably very early on, or I just found them somewhere. But, again, it doesn't have to be exactly like this to work. You just have to just figure out how cold it's going to be, how hard you're going to be working, and mix and match. A lot of this ends up being trial and error, but these work great, and you just throw them on, no problem. This is a level 3. This is kind of the big woolly jacket. This is when things really start getting cold.
These are the infamous teddy bear suit because it came with pants too, and you look.
You would not want to walk around in the woods unannounced with the kind of people we used to hang out with. A lot of them like to procure their own protein. But yeah, this stuff's pretty standard. It's pretty easy to find. So yeah, guys, your level 1 through 3. This is just your thermal stuff. What you're going to wear underneath something else. None of this is designed to be walking around and doing anything in other than slumbering around the base, sleeping, watching movies.
Which honestly, I mean, when you're out of FOB and you want to stay warm so you can get comfortable as you can and get some good sleep.
Yeah.
And it sucks to be cold. You can't really sleep in the cold unless you've got warmies on. So that's what most of, that was. And I mean, this is issued stuff. My time, that was like you brought your own. You went and bought, some Mountain Hardware or whatever, big puffy jackets and stuff like that. And, you weren't taken out tactically because you weren't going to run around that stuff anyway because you're going to overheat and then die as soon as you stop, because you'll freeze to death. But, it was good that they standardized it. But then, most of this, honestly, you're not going to war with that. You're sleeping in it and, stuff like that.
Unless it was
the heavier stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get more into this in another video, but there's how active are you going to be? Are you going to be trudging through terrain? Then yeah, you're going to want to lighten that load. You want to start off cold. But if you're going to be stagnant, you get to a spot and you're going to stay there, you want to have this stuff to be able to switch into. Because once you stop moving and you're sweaty, that's where we run into problems.
But initially you're like, oh, I'm warm. It's all good.
Yeah, no. Start off cold.
Right when you know you're going to be stopped for a while, that's when you adjust your thermals and just get warmer than you think you need to be, because it's coming and your core temperature will drop.
All right, guys. So now we're done with the internal layers. We'll start getting into the outerwear. First one is level 4. Level 4 is basically like a windbreaker / slightly okay for the rain. It's not going to protect you in a downpour by any means, but it'll keep that precipitation and whatever else off of you.
But this one here, it's wind stopper. You try to blow through it and you can't blow through it. So if you're wearing something like this and you throw this over the top, you're good for the wind.
Yeah, extremely lightweight. They were designed to be outerwear, so they do come in camouflage patterns. I've got the OG gray one here.
And these crumple up into nothing. They fold down to a little tiny package, so they're pretty easy to bring along with you.
And then this was one of the replacements. This is a 3rd gen. So the 3rd gen came in AOR 1 and 2. You get everything in both, sometimes multiples. I know, first world problems. But they got a hood built into them. And just a nice lightweight piece of kit. You can throw it in a compression bag with any other warmies. Just something nice to have when you need it, but you don't necessarily have to wear it. This is also a level 4, so it is technically designed to be worn underneath the level 5. And the level 5 is by far the most useful and probably got the most use out of any of the system. And the level 5s are designed to replace your standard combat uniform. So you're taking off your Cries or whatever you wear, your BDUs, and you're replacing it with a level 5 jacket, which is basically an op-top light jacket. This is a Gen 1 that I have. It's still in pretty decent shape, actually. This must have been the other one. I think I have another one that's like totally trash because that's the one I wore. But, these were actually pretty good. Again, these had that Blackbeard logo in them. And they're kind of Gen 1. You had these, right?
No.
No?
Nope. This was after I was done.
Okay, yeah, this stuff got issued. This was the kind of stuff you were getting in like the mid-2000s. And I wore the heck out of this stuff for my first 2 deployments because they were winter deployments. And it got, as hot as it was over there, it could get quite cold at night. And we would use this stuff. It came with a matching pair of pants. The pants never got used as much, truth be told. You'd have your combat pants set up the way that they needed to be, unless you were going to be in like a really cold wet environment. Mm-hmm. Guys really wouldn't wear the pants as much. Some guys did, and I'm not saying I didn't wear them some of the time, but they're just not as comfortable to have stuff in. But they do come with some cool tech in them. They've got the waterproof zippers, so you can get them on and off with leaving your boots on. For whatever reason you want to do that, or you just want them to breathe a little better, you can unzip them, you could roll them up, you could get some air because you're overheating because you're charging up a mountain, things like that. And they did breathe pretty well, and they were water resistant. Definitely not waterproof, but this was definitely the jewel of the issue. I think was the level 5, definitely the jacket, because they're just great. And that's as far as I would go on warm weather gear, on PCU gear. Over the top, where I would put my second line gear, my plate carrier, my webbing equipment, my battle belts, things like that. All of that would go over the top of the level 5, and that is the farthest I would go with insulating with my combat equipment over the top. After that, everything else, would go over the top of my combat equipment. These are Gen 2 level 5. These are made by Patagonia.
It's getting a little thicker there.
Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure. I think those are I never wore them for the reasons I already spoke to. Yeah. But this was the Gen 2 level 5 coat. It did not have like Velcro or shoulder pockets. It was kind of more of just kind of a bland, low visibility go at it. But I mean, I think this was supposed to be a stopgap because they stopped issuing this gray stuff. Because the more you used it, the more it got beat up. I mean, it wasn't super durable. It was super lightweight. They were really trying to cut ounces for mountain warfare. But they did issue these. Guys use these quite a bit. This has definitely got much better rain protection, but it was used in the same capacity as the level 5.
It's a lot quieter than Gore-Tex too.
Yeah.
Gore-Tex tends to make
This is a great coat. I mean, I did use it a little bit, but not nearly as much as the older stuff because I just didn't change gear all that much. I would just figure out what worked and I would just stick with it. And then eventually I'd have to throw it out. And then whatever they had next, I would just start using. But yeah, these are a great coat. This kind of weird, is it gray, is it green color scheme was kind of what they were going with. These are the matching pants made by Patagonia. They still have the tags in them because I just didn't use them. Maybe I had a different pair that I used because they usually give you 2 sets. Yeah. But I can't remember.
But for the most part, I remember, you'd put most of your thermal insulation on your upper body, your legs.
Yeah, very little.
You might have, your long johns underneath your combat uniform, and that was it. Unless it was raining, then you would pull on, rain pants, over that, and your core is what you want to keep heated anyway. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's on the legs, you had the 2 different weights of the long johns, and you just would go minimal as much as you could, or you bring them with you in a backpack. I mean, I remember we were driving around in the back of a box truck looking for checkpoints, and we had like an armored box truck that just looked like a regular indigenous truck, and we were back there just driving around. ISR would pop like, hey, there's one freaking that way, and we're just sitting in the back of this ice box. And I remember at that point, I was like, oh man, I'm putting all this stuff on. Because again, you're static. You're stagnant. Yeah. You're not moving around. You're being transported around. And that's when you just freeze to death.
And when the action happens, it's going to be pretty quick. Yeah. And then you go back, jump back.
Yeah, you might move 100 yards.
Yeah. So yeah, plan accordingly, right?
Well, plan accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, the lightweight, insulator long johns, that's the most I ever wore on my legs. Yeah, because then you put on your combat pants and maybe rain suit over that at very most. Because I mean, when you overheat, if you can get your legs out, and that's a lot of surface area that helps you cool down fairly quickly.
Alrighty, this is a modern Gen 5. And it's got all the pockets and the Velcro. The Velcro's camoed into the it's like camo Velcro. It's like even extra tactical.
So tactical.
Like so tactical. And breathable. It's kind of truly the next generation of the level 5. I did see guys rocking like solid brown stuff as well. This is a little bit of that intermediate issue that came out after the green and gray stuff, but I didn't get very much of it. I don't know what happened to it. I just used the gray stuff up until the AOR stuff started coming out in the 2010s, early 2010s. And that's kind of what guys are using now. I know multicam's more the standard camo pattern issue.
Yeah, it's filtering in. I think that's all the new stuff. The brand new stuff is all in some sort of multicam.
But the pants had the suspenders, and they were good to go. They had pockets where you needed them. And this was for, trudging around in the snow, heavy rain, in that 40s, 30s, 20s Fahrenheit realm, especially if you're going to be moving around. You can get away with a lot, just a good pair of socks on your legs, and then this stuff, because your legs are just always moving, always pumping. And just having too many, especially on the lower body, because that is a super big pain to change out, because obviously you're wearing boots. All right, guys, so like we already talked about, this is at the level 4 that's designed to be worn underneath that level 5 kind of combat top. And it just helps keep you away from that moisture a little bit more, the precipitation, melting snow, as well as it's a bit of a wind stopper. So it does trap that heat in high wind environments more so than the other ones. But, you know, when things really start getting bad, lot of wind, lot of rain, you know, you're really in it. That's where the level 6 comes in. A level 6 is just kind of your standard rain shell. Nothing too crazy about it. It was very durable, very lightweight, very thin. I didn't see or have any issues with these failing, but truth be told, I didn't use them all that much. Generally wasn't in a cold, rainy place when doing that job. But I grew up in a very cold, rainy place. So, you know, this would definitely withstand the test of time. I could have worn this stuff in day-to-day life in the Pacific Northwest, which, you know, is pretty much wintertime 6 months out of the year. But all in all, good stuff. But again, I would never put combat equipment over the top of this because it is going to just trap everything and you can just turn yourself into a jungle. I actually did do that once as a new guy. I brought a machine gun loadout over the top of because it was raining, and I remember it being absolutely miserable, and I was just pulling stuff off and like tying it on, and just like it was a mess. So yeah, definitely had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way with this stuff. But all in all, just a standard kind of rain slicker. Some of them you can get whether they're bibs and have suspenders and all that. These were just pants and a jacket. And they were designed to be worn, if necessary, like right over the top of your combat uniform, which is what these big zippers were for. So you could kind of slide them on over the boots, over the pants, all of that. And, you know, just to be able to kind of mix and match and be more modular on the move.
Man, that's a nice zipper.
Yeah, they are. They were very nice zippers.
That's going to, the range I can get through there. Holy crap, that's pretty badass.
So again, being able to, you know, just add and subtract layers without getting fully undressed, you know, taking your boots off in the field is huge. And if you're going to be using this stuff in that capacity, being able to unzip, unvelcro, unbutton, whatever it is, this kind of stuff is definitely a plus. Then this is the more modern stuff. Again, level 6. This one's got the suspenders. This stuff is bigger. You can fit over the top of the pants. Does have the zippers, everything in the same spot. This is the other pattern, but they're all identical. They're just different colors. And again, you know, just a standard rain jacket. Nothing too fancy, but you know, it collapses down to nothing. You can put all this stuff in compression sacks, carry it with you, and comes in handy. All right, guys. Level 7 is your big puff, your big cold. And just have the second generation here I brought, because this is the only thing I've ever done with it, is show it to you. It still has all the tags on it. It's still brand new. Still actually.
This is like a sleeping bag that you would wear.
Yeah. So by the time this stuff started coming out, I was kind of done being cold. I just went to hot places. And I live in a hot place, and I train in hot places, so this stuff just never got used. But this is kind of that last layer that you would use, you would bring, and it's almost like a sleeping bag suit. This is designed to keep you warm with all of your stuff still on. It even came with its own nifty compression bag. And there are pants that go with it, and these things completely come apart. Like you can just literally turn this into a blanket. You can put this on over the top of your combat uniform. We even got boot warmers. Really? Like to put over the top of your boots, and then boxes of those chemical warmers that you could use, which are great at altitude. But yeah, just having something like this, it's basically a sleeping bag. And but you can wear it, you can move around, and more importantly, you can take it off very quickly without taking off any of your actual combat equipment. And so these were called the level 7s. During one of my cold deployments, I had a stuff sack with level 7 in it, and then I'd always have a warm hat and gloves. And you compress that down as tight as you could, and I had a Fast-Tech system of wearing it across the small of my back. And it was actually great lumbar support in vehicles. But, you know, it just depends. They didn't always have it, but I had that capability. And, you know, you just don't want to freeze to death if you can avoid it. So.
Yeah, and this stuff doesn't weigh very much. So
no, it really doesn't.
it's worth it.
It's a pillow, it's lumbar support, it's warmies, it's multifunction. And, but yeah, this came in gray, it came in tan, and it came in AOR, and they're issuing it in multicam. There's a ton of different companies out there that make this stuff, but more on that later. All right, guys, so eventually they started calling our op tops, our operational camis, level 9s. And
what happened to level 8?
Yeah, so what did happen to level 8? At the same time as level 9s, you had additional pieces of puff issued. We got these vests, which were nice, just a nice puff vest. And then the jewel, what's right up there as far as its usage with the level 5 jacket, was this micro puff coat. And I'd heard people refer to these as level 8, because it's pretty close to 7, up there with the other puffs. But apparently this isn't level 8. This is just an addition to like the level 3-4 area. Okay. But these were added on extra. You got each in both patterns. Use the vests a little bit, but the micro puff jacket is where it was at. This thing was awesome. Wouldn't want to wear this underneath my plate carrier for, the overheating reasons, but for whenever you could wear it, you could get out of that stuff, and you could just kind of throw this stuff over the top of your second line gear if you had to. But I wore the heck out of this thing, and it stood up. It's made by Patagonia, and very well made, very durable. I wore it for a couple of years. He's always smelling my clothes. It's
okay. You want to test something? See if it's a wind stopper. You hold it up to your mouth and you blow. If it blows through, then it's not wind stopper. The wind's going to go through. If it stops it,
yeah, he always wants to look at me in the eyes when he's doing that.
Well, he does have a certain muff.
He wants to stare right in my eyes when he's smelling my clothes. I'm like, whatever, dude. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, these were kind of additions, add-ons. These micro puff jacket. Definitely a great idea. Definitely something to have if you're going to be in an environment where it can be fairly warm during the day, and then the temperature could plummet as soon as the sun goes down. That's pretty common at altitude. Just having something as easy as this definitely makes all the difference in the world. But back to the level 9s. The level 9s, were just like the Cry battle uniform. The plate carrier shirts, the pockets, everything that's pretty standard now. I just pulled out a few.
Flame retardant.
Yeah, this is the AOR 1 Cries. These are the AOR 2s, though they stopped issuing us the Cry brand and they started issuing us the Patagonia brand, and that is where we seriously ran into some problems. I don't have any complaints with the actual PCU cold weather system, but the battle uniforms that replaced our Cries were garbage.
Yeah, I heard nothing but complaints about
hot garbage. They were horribly constructed. Patagonia
crotch is ripped out.
Yeah. They were the initial batch was all single stitch. I'll never forgive Patagonia. I'll never look at that company the same way. I know they're capable of making great stuff. I've already shown you a ton of it. But they were terrible uniforms. They constantly ripped. And then the shirts, the armpit would be in the wrong spot. And so guys would just, out of frustration, they just rip them and rip everything. So guys would just be walking around with torn up clothes constantly. It was a real problem for a number of years. So they just had to buy stuff that worked off to the side, be it personal funds or team funds. But eventually, yeah, they did fix the problem. The second generation looked identical to the first, but they worked better though. They were a little bit more long lasting. I did use those a little bit, and they didn't just disintegrate in one day of training. But eventually they got it fixed, and they started issuing everything in multicam. But this isn't the Patagonia stuff. This is just kind of a stand-in for, level 9. All this stuff is Cry, I believe, except I think this shirt is actually a later gen Patagonia because it doesn't have the Cry logos. Nope, it's got a Cry. Sure, never mind. I didn't bring any of that Patagonia crap. And I think I gave it all away. But yeah, and then we also had the Underway uniform, which dried out fast. Not technically part of PCU, but it was kind of a level 9 replacement as needed. You could factor this in if you were going to be doing maritime stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't soak up any water, and just it's because water adds weight to you, as well as being cold. But
and the so that was the 9-level system, but yet there's only 8. There's only 8 levels because there is no level 8. I don't know. It's weird. All right, guys. This is kind of a quick history and basic function on the PCU protective combat uniform. Again, not going to protect you from the combat part of the combat environment. It's just the cold weather part mostly and the wet stuff.
which will kill you just as fast, honestly.
But you had kind of the Gen 1 or Motto version that came out in the early 2000s. This is kind of a stopgap late 2000s, early 2010s version. This is just a civilian coat that they bought in bulk in a tactical color. A little bit heavier in weight, but it was definitely used. But the level 5 tops, were definitely what I used by far the most. This is the first gen. I don't know, maybe this is like the 1.5. And then the second gen here, I just used the heck out of these. You got them in any kind of pattern you could think of. On the Navy side,
AR 1,
AR 1 and 2. The Marines were getting their stuff in both MARPATs. But the better part of 10 years ago, SOCOM got tired of paying twice. And so they mandated that MARSOC and NAVSPEC Warfare switch to multicam for operational equipment because it would cost them, half as much. And the Army and Air Force were doing just fine, had been. So the Marines kind of, yes, sir, and they freaking switched right over. I was seeing those guys wearing pretty much all multicam stuff by 2019. And then NSW kind of hung in there a little longer for whatever reason. And I think multicam's kind of what everybody's rocking now.
Yeah, back to the old days when everybody was rocking woodland camis.
Yep, good stuff. Cool. But anyway, thanks for being here. We just kind of wanted to kind of go over, just generalize what we used and what it was used for. It's technically a 9-layer system, but there is no level 8. So, maybe they'll get around to fixing that. I don't know. But anyway.
Well, this is all going away. They have a new system come out.
Yeah.
Has different acronyms. It'll be basically do the same stuff. But there's
always a new system on the horizon. Got to keep those war bucks flowing. But anyway, thanks for being here. It's Dorr and Coch out.